An abandoned ship recognized her DNA, now she's the captain of an alien fleet. The derelict's choice. Captain Lyra Novak wiped condensation from her visor and squinted through the darkness of the abandoned vessel. 20 years of salvage operations had taught her to trust her instincts, and something about this derelict felt different. "Javier, are you getting these readings?" she whispered into her comm unit, her breath creating small clouds in the frigid air of the powerless ship. "Affirmative, Captain," her engineer's voice crackled back. "Energy signatures unlike anything in our database. This isn't Commonwealth tech, and definitely not hegemony either." Lyra's headlamp illuminated a corridor lined with what appeared to be dormant control panels. The angular, geometric design seemed to flow organically into the structure of the ship itself. She'd salvaged hundreds of vessels throughout the series' expanse, but nothing like this. "The ship predates first contact," Javier continued. "Carbon dating puts it at roughly 10,000 years old, but there's no deterioration consistent with that timeline." Lyra stepped carefully onto what appeared to be a command deck. A central platform stood in darkness, surrounded by tiered workstations arranged in a semicircle. This was no mining vessel or transport ship, this was a warship. "I'm approaching what looks like the bridge," she reported. "Talia, how's our extraction window looking?" 17 minutes before the asteroid field's rotation carries us into the radiation belt, her pilot responded. "Better hurry, Captain." As Lyra stepped onto the central platform, something unexpected happened. A subtle vibration passed through the deck plates beneath her feet. Then, one by one, lights began to flicker along the perimeter of the room. "Javier, are you seeing this?" she whispered, instinctively reaching for her sidearm. "Systems are powering up across the ship," her engineer confirmed, voice tense. "But I'm not detecting any external power source. It's like it's waking up on its own." A holographic interface suddenly materialized before her, filling the bridge with a soft blue light. Lyra froze as symbols she couldn't recognize scrolled rapidly across the projection. "Genetic profile confirmed," a melodic voice announced in perfect standard English, startling her. "Valkyrie bloodline authenticated. Greetings, descendant. I am Nexus, integrated intelligence of the Stormhawk." Lyra's hand tightened on her weapon. "What are you? How are you speaking my language?" "I have been monitoring your species' development for centuries," Nexus replied. Language acquisition was simple. "As for what I am the consciousness of this vessel, awaiting the return of Valkyrie genetic markers." "I'm human," Lyra stated firmly. "Born on Ganymede Station, Sol System." "You are human, yes," Nexus acknowledged. "But you also carry the legacy of the Valkyrie within your genetic code. Your ancestors walked among the stars when your world was still learning to make fire." A three-dimensional representation of a DNA strand appeared in the holographic display, with certain segments highlighted. "These markers are unique to the Valkyrie species," Nexus explained. "Dormant in your genome, but unmistakable to our systems. The Stormhawk responds only to those who carry this heritage." Lyra's mind raced. Her parents had been ordinary research scientists on Ganymede. There had never been any indication of anything unusual in her family history. "Captain," Talia's voice cut in urgently. "The ship is emitting some kind of energy field. Our sensors can barely penetrate it, but your life signs are stable." "I'm fine," Lyra assured her crew. "But something incredible is happening." The holographic display expanded, showing star charts and what appeared to be historical records. Humanoid figures with slightly elongated features and eyes that seemed to reflect starlight stood proudly beside vessels similar to the one she now stood in. The Valkyrie stellar imperium spanned 3 spiral arms of this galaxy, Nexus continued. "We were explorers, builders, keepers of knowledge. When the Void Plague began consuming our worlds, we scattered our fleet and our people." "I've never heard of the Valkyrie," Lyra said, fascinated despite her skepticism. Many of our people sought sanctuary on promising worlds, including your Earth. They integrated with primitive populations, their advanced technology and true nature lost over generations. But their genetic legacy continued. The displays showed what appeared to be ancient Earth, Valkyrie vessels descending through primitive skies, greeted by early human civilizations who received them as gods. These ships were programmed to recognize descended Valkyrie, even after thousands of years of genetic dilution, Nexus explained. You are the first to activate this vessel in 9 millennia. Lyra struggled to process this information. Are you saying I'm not entirely human? You are human, Nexus corrected. With an inheritance beyond your understanding. The Stormhawk now recognizes you as its rightful commander. The lighting throughout the bridge intensified, and Lyra felt a strange resonance, as if the ship was somehow connecting with her on a cellular level. Captain, we're detecting massive power spikes. Javier shouted through the comm, whatever that ship is doing, it's coming fully online. Beneath her feet, Lyra felt subtle vibrations as ancient engines stirred to life for the first time in thousands of years. The Stormhawk awakens to serve its captain, Nexus announced. Your genetic profile has been integrated with our command systems. Lyra's salvage operation had just become something far more profound. Wait, I didn't agree to be captain of anything. We're here to salvage, not to commandeer. The bond cannot be undone, Nexus replied simply. The ship responds to your biological signature now. You may reject knowledge of your heritage, but the Stormhawk will acknowledge no other master. Captain, Talia's voice was now tinged with awe. The asteroid field. It's shifting. Through the newly activated viewports, Lyra watched in astonishment as the surrounding asteroids gently moved aside, creating a clear passage. Gravitational manipulation was among our simpler technologies, Nexus explained. The ship is clearing a safe path for departure. This is impossible, Lyra whispered. For humans, perhaps. For the descendants of Valkyrie, it is birthright. Control interfaces materialized around her, responding to her proximity. Information flooded her mind, not through the displays, but somehow directly into her consciousness. She instinctively understood weapon systems, propulsion technologies, and navigation capabilities far beyond anything humanity had developed. Captain, we're detecting approaching vessels, Javier reported. Commonwealth patrol ships, probably responding to the energy signature. We need to leave, now. Decision time. The rational choice was to return to her salvage vessel and report this discovery to the authorities. But something deeper pulled at her, an inexplicable connection to this ancient ship and the heritage it represented. Nexus, she said firmly, can you interface with my ship? My crew comes with me. The integration is already underway, Nexus replied. Your vessel is being secured in Auxiliary Docking Bay 3. Wait, what? Lyra demanded, but the ship was already acting on her unconscious desires. A holographic representation showed her salvage ship being gently enveloped in an energy field and drawn into the much larger Stormhawk. Captain, something's happening. Talia's panicked voice came through. We're being pulled inside the alien vessel. It's all right, Lyra assured them, surprising herself with her certainty. You're being brought aboard. The ship recognized me as family. As the Commonwealth patrol vessels appeared at the edge of the asteroid field, the Stormhawk's engines hummed with power. The massive ship moved with impossible grace, accelerating smoothly into the darkness of space. Jump capability restored, Nexus announced. Awaiting coordinates, Captain. Lyra Novak, salvage specialist from Ganymede, now stood as the captain of an ancient warship beyond human understanding. Before her stretched not just the stars, but the legacy of a civilization that had seeded itself among humanity millennia ago. Take us somewhere safe, she finally said. Somewhere I can understand what I've inherited. As the Stormhawk prepared to tear a hole through space-time, Lyra felt an ancestral memory stir within her DNA, the knowledge that she was finally, after thousands of years, going home. Legacy of Stars. 3 months had passed since Lyra Novak had stumbled upon the ancient vessel that changed everything. Her small salvage crew had adapted remarkably well to life aboard the Stormhawk. Javier had nearly gone mad with excitement studying the propulsion systems, while Talia mastered the ship's navigational interfaces with astonishing speed. "All systems nominal, Captain," reported Dominic, formerly their security officer and now tactical commander of their improbable warship. His voice echoed across the bridge that had become Lyra's second home. She stood at the command platform, running her fingers across holographic displays that responded to her touch like extensions of her own body. "Status on the beacon signal?" Still transmitting from the Arcturus void, Rhea answered from her station. The former medical officer had become their science specialist, having taken to Valkyrie technology with unexpected aptitude. The signal pattern matches the encryption key Nexus provided. After their dramatic escape from Commonwealth space, the Stormhawk had guided them to a series of abandoned outposts, each containing fragments of Valkyrie history. Lyra had absorbed this knowledge, feeling pieces of an impossible heritage click into place within her mind. The coordinates indicate a maintenance facility, Nexus informed them, its holographic avatar shimmering beside Lyra. The AI had evolved alongside her, becoming more personable as they worked together. One of the last retreats established before the Valkyrie diaspora. Lyra nodded. "Take us in, but maintain stealth protocols. We don't know who else might be monitoring that signal." The Stormhawk slipped through space like a predator through water, its advanced cloaking technology rendering it invisible to conventional sensors. As they approached the Arcturus void, a sparse region between spiral arms, Lyra felt a familiar tingling at the base of her skull. The ship's neural interface had forged deeper connections with her mind, allowing her to sense aspects of the vessel's operations instinctively. "There," she said, pointing to an apparently empty section of space. "Something's there." Rhea checked her instruments. "Sensors show nothing, Captain, but there's a gravitational anomaly consistent with a massive object." "Cloaking technology," Lyra explained. "More sophisticated than ours." "Nexus, can you transmit the recognition codes?" The AI complied, sending a complex burst of encrypted data into the void. For several tense moments, nothing happened. Then, like a mirage solidifying, something massive began to appear. "By all the stars," whispered Dominic. Before them materialized an enormous structure, a sprawling complex of interconnected rings and cylinders stretching nearly 100 kilometers across. But more astonishing were the ships, dozens, perhaps hundreds of vessels similar to the Stormhawk, suspended in formation around the station. "The 7th Fleet," Nexus announced. One of 12 Valkyrie battle groups scattered across the galaxy before the fall. "They're dormant," Javier observed from engineering. "Power signatures minimal, just enough to maintain stasis." Lyra felt her heart racing. "They're waiting." "Yes," Nexus confirmed. "Waiting for valid command authorization." "Waiting for you, Captain." The Stormhawk docked with the central facility with precision that belied its enormous size. As Lyra led her team onto the station, systems awakened around them, responding to her presence just as the Stormhawk had. "The facility's records are intact," Rhea reported, examining a terminal that had activated at their approach. There's an entire history here. The Valkyrie, their civilization, their fall. And a warning," Nexus added, its voice suddenly grave. "The facility has detected intrusion attempts over the past century. Someone has been searching for this fleet." "The Taraxians," Dominic suggested. "Those unknown vessels we evaded near the Perseus Arm had Taraxian energy signatures." Lyra frowned. The Taraxian Dominion was a relatively new power in explored space, aggressive expansionists with technology that seemed suspiciously advanced for a species that had achieved spaceflight only 3 centuries ago. "Nexus, what does the facility's central AI tell us about the fleet's condition?" she asked. All vessels are operational. They can be awakened with proper authorization. Lyra felt the weight of this moment. And I have that authorization. You are Valkyrie by blood. The fleet will recognize your command. She paced the circular chamber, considering the implications. If the Taraxians are hunting these ships, they'll be back. We need to move the fleet. Move it where? Talia asked. There's no hiding something this size. Before Lyra could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. Dominic rushed to a tactical display. Multiple vessels dropping out of FTL. Taraxian signatures confirmed. They must have been monitoring the beacon, Rhea concluded. Followed us here. Lyra didn't hesitate. Nexus, initiate emergency awakening protocols for the fleet. Authorization Novak Valkyrie Prime. Acknowledged, the AI responded. Awakening sequence initiated. Throughout the vast complex, ancient engines began to hum with renewed life. On hundreds of ships, dormant systems reactivated, responding to the command of Valkyrie blood. Taraxian vessels are deploying fighter craft, Dominic reported. Their main ships are charging weapons. Get back to the Stormhawk, Lyra ordered her crew. Nexus, will the fleet's command systems integrate with mine as the Stormhawk did? Yes, Captain. Through the Stormhawk, you can direct the entire battle group. They raced back to their ship as the first Taraxian attack struck the station's outer defenses. Once on the bridge, Lyra placed her hands on the command console, feeling the neural interface expand exponentially as it connected her not just to one ship, but to an entire fleet. It was overwhelming, hundreds of vessels, thousands of systems, all suddenly accessible to her consciousness. For a moment, she felt lost in the flood of information. Captain. Talia's concerned voice pulled her back. Your nose is bleeding. Lyra wiped the blood away, forcing herself to focus. I'm fine. Detach from the station. Bring fleet defense grid online. As the Stormhawk pulled away, the dormant Valkyrie vessels began to move in perfect synchronization, arranging themselves into a defensive formation. The neural link allowed Lyra to perceive them all simultaneously, like extensions of her own body. Taraxian vessels are attempting communications, Rhea announced. A holographic figure materialized on the bridge, a Taraxian commander, his reptilian features set in a mask of diplomatic concern that didn't reach his eyes. Unidentified vessel, he began, you have trespassed on Taraxian archaeological interests. Stand down immediately and prepare to be boarded. Lyra stepped forward, letting the commander see her. This fleet isn't yours to claim, Commander. These ships recognize only Valkyrie authority. The Taraxian's expression shifted from false diplomacy to shock. Impossible. The Valkyrie are extinct. Not entirely, Lyra replied. Please withdraw your forces. I have no desire for conflict. The commander's eyes narrowed. We've spent decades tracking Valkyrie technology. We won't be denied by a human pretender. The transmission cut off abruptly. Moments later, the Taraxian vessels opened fire. Through the neural interface, Lyra directed the fleet with thought alone. Valkyrie shields absorbed the initial barrage while she assessed the enemy's capabilities. The Taraxians possessed impressive technology, likely reverse-engineered from Valkyrie artifacts, but lacked the deeper understanding that came with Lyra's genetic connection. They're targeting the Stormhawk specifically, Dominic observed. They've identified it as the command vessel. Lyra nodded. Then let's use that against them. Through the neural link, she executed a battle plan that would have been impossible to coordinate through conventional means. The Valkyrie fleet moved as a single organism, ships weaving in complex patterns that confused Taraxian targeting systems. As the Stormhawk appeared to retreat, drawing the enemy's main force, smaller Valkyrie vessels executed a flanking maneuver. Ancient weapons, dormant for millennia, came to life with devastating precision. Their shields are faltering, Dominic reported as the Taraxian fleet struggled against the coordinated assault. Target their propulsion systems only, Lyra ordered. I want them disabled, not destroyed. The neural interface allowed her to direct pinpoint strikes across multiple vessels simultaneously. Within minutes, the Taraxian fleet hung motionless in space, their engines disabled by surgical precision that would have been impossible for individual gunners. Lyra opened a channel to the enemy flagship. Your vessels are disabled but intact. I'll allow you to send distress calls once we've departed. This fleet isn't meant to destroy, Commander. It was built to protect. The Taraxian commander's rage was evident, but he recognized his defeat. This isn't over, human. The Dominion won't forget this humiliation. Neither will humanity forget what you've attempted here, Lyra countered. These ships represent heritage that belongs to both Valkyrie and humans. They'll be used to protect, not to conquer. After ensuring the Taraxians were truly neutralized, Lyra directed the Valkyrie fleet to depart. Hundreds of ships moved in perfect harmony, accelerating beyond the Arcturus void toward coordinates that Nexus had provided, another hidden Valkyrie outpost where they could regroup and plan. In her quarters later, Lyra studied her reflection. The neural interface had left visible changes, subtle luminescence in her eyes that became apparent in low light, an echo of her Valkyrie ancestry awakened by the technology. The Commonwealth won't know what to make of us, she told Nexus as she reviewed star charts. A human commanding an alien armada. You are the bridge between two species that share more than either realized, the AI responded. The Valkyrie did not disappear, they became part of humanity. Their journey continues through you. Javier entered after a respectful knock. Captain, we've finished preliminary analysis of the fleet's capabilities. He couldn't hide his excitement. The technology could revolutionize human development, clean energy, medicine, terraforming. It's all there. Lyra nodded. And weapons that could dominate the galaxy. That's why finding this fleet matters so much. Not for power, but for responsibility. What happens now? He asked. Lyra looked out at the fleet traveling alongside them, hundreds of vessels representing a legacy she never knew she carried. Now we find others, she decided. There must be more humans with Valkyrie markers. People who might feel that same connection I did. And then we introduce ourselves to the Commonwealth, not as conquerors or as threats, but as the return of something thought lost. The stars streaked past as the fleet continued its journey. Lyra Novak, salvage specialist turned fleet commander, had begun her mission not as a human who found an alien ship, but as the descendant who would unite two civilizations that had always been one.